Hi, I'm Michelle.
And I'm Cathy Jo.
And we are the Women of Whiskeys. Thank you for joining us. So today we're going to be talking about our top 3 whiskeys for 2022.
I've never done this before. This was so hard to narrow it down to 3.
Which is why we're each doing 3.
Yes.
Because we couldn't agree.
I mean, we agree on a lot of things.
We do.
Our 3 favorite things, maybe not so much.
Well, everybody's palate's different. So
I'm excited to see if we have any overlap.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Okay, let's find out. Okay, so did you put just like American whiskeys, bourbons? What'd you throw in there?
I've got a scotch in there.
You got a scotch in
I
there?
have a scotch in there and 2 bourbons.
Okay, all right. I don't have scotch in there.
Wait, do you have all bourbon?
Actually, I think mine all ended up being bourbon. I didn't plan it that way, but they did all end up being bourbon. So, okay, what was your number 3?
So my number 3 was Old Forester King Ranch.
I'm an Old Forester fan.
I am too. When I did my very first blind over here, Old Forester 1910 was my favorite. And I still have yet to find an Old Forester that I don't like. This one I really like.
That was a good one. That was a good one. It didn't make my top 3, but it's definitely worth my honorable mention.
Yeah.
So what was it about it that you liked?
So with all things King Ranch in the rodeo world and the Western world, you can guarantee that that's going to be top of the line. This is no exception. Absolutely no exception. This one on the nose was a lot of cherry, marshmallow, graham cracker. And when we first opened this, it was very aggressive on the palate. It's opened up since then.
Yeah.
It's very different now.
Yeah, I went back to it recently. I like the way it opened up.
It's great. Yeah, it still has like the chocolatey and the plum, but it's just not so bam. But I loved hearing about the history of this one and the fact that it was filtered through mesquite charcoal that was from trees grown on King Ranch.
Right.
That was the coolest thing to me.
Yeah.
Okay. And the fact that it's 100 proof and about $70 MSRP is really great because it's going to be easy to like by a lot of palates. The problem is it's only found in Texas.
Yeah, it was a Texas-only release. Like you had to buy it there.
Yes. So what was your number 3?
So my number 3 and 2 and 3, they were tough for me. They're both right up there. So I'm kind of like it's almost like a tie for 2 and 3. But I tried this. I fell in love with it. It checked all the boxes for me this year, and I was surprised because it's not one that was on my radar last year at all. And that was the Rebel 10-year Single Barrel 2022 release. That is so good, especially at 100 proof. So, I mean, it's got everything going on. It's got the citrus. It's got the cherry. It's got a little bit of chocolate and spice. So it's like a spicy chocolate-covered cherry citrus delight. So anyway, it was hard for me. So that it came in 3rd, but it very well could compete for 2nd. What was your 2nd?
My 2nd was Calumet 16.
My 2nd was Calumet 16.
No way.
Yes.
Okay.
See?
That's convenient.
Yes, right.
I will say that the fact that Calumet comes from a long history of horse racing did not sway my decision. It was strictly based on the whiskey itself.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you one bit. And horses?
And horses. It's got horses on the bottle. It's a guaranteed winner.
So, well, for me, it was the birthday cake note.
Oh, the birthday cake note is supreme.
I mean, I love birthday cake. And it was birthday cake, but then you also had a little bit of that tobacco that came up on the back. So it wasn't too sweet.
And a little Bing cherry.
Yes. So it all came together so wonderfully that it had to be in my top 2.
My favorite collection of 19 barrels. And we did a whole live for like an hour and a half where we tasted 14, 15, 16, and the small batch.
Yeah.
And this was far and away the highest.
And I'm surprised because I really liked Calumet 14.
Mm-hmm.
But Calumet 16 is definitely one of my favorites this last year, especially at 106 proof.
You can say that of the Calumets, it won the race.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right, moving on.
We're getting a little corny.
Corn whiskey?
It's 74% corn, so it works.
Even at 150, it's still a must-have.
It's worth the buy.
Everybody has their own budget, but if that's in your budget, it's definitely one to keep on the shelf.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what was your number 1?
Okay. If you've been following the process of deduction, you know by now it's a scotch. Okay. It's the Lagavulin Offerman Edition Shard Oak Cask.
Nice.
It's a good one.
I knew you were going to pick that.
It's so good. It's wonderful. It is great. I never liked scotch until this year. In all fairness, I never really liked bourbon until this year.
I mean, you did come in with no preconceived ideas.
Exactly, yes. And this one is a really good scotch that has a lot of that sea salt brine, and it's got the peat. And then on the palate, it has that campfire smoke. But underneath that campfire smoke, you've got a little burnt marshmallow. You can definitely get that oakiness in there. It's just a really great scotch.
Okay, nice.
All right, how about your number one?
I mean, my number one, this one blew me. And I remember when I did our short review on this, I said, and this was early on, I said, I think this is going to be in my top 3. And it held out at number 1. And that is the Woodford Reserve Batch 118.4 proof. It is good stuff. Brown Foreman, non-age stated. I mean, it is a little steep at 130, but totally worth it for me. I'll pick this up every time I see it, especially since we usually find it for MSRP here. It's got that leather, but then that spicy oak, and it's got the plum and the dark cherry, all those dark fruit notes that I love so much. So, I mean, the Woodford Reserve had to be my number 1 this year.
That tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you guys have it. We agreed, we disagreed, but in the end, those are our top 3, top 6 whiskeys of 2022.
Yeah.
And we can disagree because there's no wrong way to drink your whiskey. You share it with your friends and drink it how you like it. Cheers.